Hello, it's Angry Birds Freeze King. I am not here today to do an insulator video. I am here to do a new type of video. If you look right here, I have this street light. And lately, I've had quite an interest in these really cool street light cobra heads. I have obtained a couple of them, and I think I'm going to start a collection of these lights. Anyway, so today I'm going to do a video about this light right here. This street light I have fixed up, repainted, and it's brand new, and I'd like to do a video on it, so let's get to it. So this right here is my General Electric M400A. I believe it's an A2. There's a couple different versions of these lights in this specific era in this model. It's kind of funny actually, just as I was doing the scene transition, if I pull my camera over here, I was going to set it on my stand, but my stand just broke, so now I don't have a camera stand, but that was a cheap stand, so it's okay. So a little history on this light. We have a school in our area, you know, I live in Mount Healthy, and they, back in the day, the school was actually over in a different area, which is right next to our street, which is actually a complex now. It's a sports complex and a park. And they left the old lights. There was two ways to get into the old school, and this was on one of the old entrances. And they tore the school down back in 2010, but they left the lights up, and they were still working. But this light here, I don't think had been working for 2 years now, and it's 2019. And I found out through, if any of you live here in Cincinnati, you'll know that Duke has a streetlight app on their website that you can use to report a light that's out. And I went ahead and did that, you know, because I've had an interest in these lights, and I, you know, like my insulator collecting, when, you know, the people come out, you know, I ask for the insulators, and I want to do that with this. So I set up a report so that the guy can come out and fix it, so that I actually could get this light. They replaced this light with a new light, and there was another one they replaced, but I didn't get that one. I guess I just didn't want it. So I talked to the guy, and I asked him if I could have it. He was kind of confused, but he eventually gave it to me, and I looked up the company of his truck, and I applied for him, because I'm actually applying for utility-related jobs right now, so, and I now have it here. So this light right here, this light wasn't working, and I'm not sure if this was the cause, but if you look at the ballast, I mean, this is obviously what's wrong with it. But I think this street light, we've had a lot of bad lightning storms last year and the year before, and I think this light might have gotten struck, but I'm not sure. But this is, so this is the power unit that came with this light. I obviously bought a new one off eBay, and it's, this one was originally a 400 watt. This one's now, it's a 200 watt light now. But this ballast here, as you can see, it is just burnt. I don't know if it just overheated. I know there's a lubricant they have to coat it with so it doesn't get hot or what, but this light just burned. I am going to throw this in the old doorway. Now, I was originally going to get a new ballast and just keep the original door, but if I take this off, now when that burnt up, it overheated the aluminum here, and if you look at it, and I actually repainted this too, but I'm just going to throw it away. If you look right here, you can actually see it expanded it and cracked it. So the other night I was on eBay, and I saw they were selling power units for this style of light, and I went ahead and just bought a new one, and I painted it accordingly to what the light is. So yeah, this thing's actually making a mess. So I'm going to put this back up here. This box right here is actually the box I ordered the new power unit in. But now this is the old capacitor, or not capacitor, excuse me. This is the igniter for the light bulb. These parts I will keep. I'm not sure if this works or not, but I can obviously test it in my light if I want to now. But I am going to keep that, 'cause even though it's dirty, it is in good condition. As well as the capacitor, I will hold on to this. I think the only thing that's really ruined in this case is the actual outer cover and the ballast. So those will be tossed out. These will go over here in my drawers. I will do a video about this maybe some other time. I have it all taken apart right now. But so that got ruined. Another thing too, not only did the ballast burn up, but the photocell here, and the photocell, this is actually the original cell, and this works. This cap is new, this photocell outlet. The old one, and I don't have it, actually it's already gone now, but the old one was totally burned and it just fell apart. So I went ahead, and you can actually buy those offline on Amazon, and you can you know, replace them. They're actually made for like shed barn lights, but it's okay, it actually works and it looks good on this light. So yeah. So a little bit about this light. So this is a General Electric M400A2, I believe. It's, I think, considered a power door because there's two. There's a power door you can open back there, and you can also open the refractor. Although I think all these models that were made, there are a couple of variations. Like when I show you mine, there's a vented version. This one I have is not a vented version. Which is why I think this one's called the power door. The other one's just the M400A2. The A2 has been, I think, around for almost 15 years. The first ones that came out in the 70s that replaced the 1960s M400s, the photocell on them was actually towards the back here, but then come the 80s, and the late 70s and the 80s, they went ahead and moved it up more, and I actually like it better when it's just towards the middle, because it keeps it symmetrical and it just looks better. So this light too, I went ahead and repainted it so it could look new. It was in really, other than the bad ballast and broken power door, this light was in really good condition. The refractor was very clean. I still have the rubber grip to it. It's in great shape. The glass has one very extremely tiny chip on it, which is really hard to notice, but the glass refractor is in great shape, and the photo cap, which I'm glad didn't burn up with the ballast and outlet, is in great shape as well. And I actually repainted it too, making sure that I didn't paint over, you know, the part where the light has to come in. It's nice that I have the original photocell. I did test it and it works really well. I'm glad it didn't get burned up with the ballast. Now when I got it, you know, the paint, obviously, the original paint was really just coming off. On the front part, it did have its original paint, but it didn't really look very good. The refractor here, the refractor was in great condition. It's a bit hazy, and I'm going to probably take some time to clean it, but other than that, it's really clean. The reflector inside is also very clean and shiny, as well as its rubber gasket, which is surprisingly not brittle or falling apart, but it is inside the light, so it really hasn't been exposed to the sun to really, you know, become brittle, and it's in great shape too. There's no rips on it at all, although I think it might be a slight bit stretched, but other than that, this light's in good shape. And the paint that I use for my light, I'll go get it right over here. It's not really, it's kind of a standard gray. I know the newer ones are a lot lighter than this one, but I used Rust-Oleum paint, spray paint. I used a winter gray. I decided to go with a winter gray. I didn't want to go, I don't know what the other gray was, but there was like a really light gray, which would have been, which I wouldn't have really liked, because I want, this light this is a pretty standard luminaire, and I want to keep it standard, but looking really good. So I went with winter gray, and it turned out really good. I had to do a couple different, I had to redo it a few times the first time I painted it. I wasn't satisfied. I had a lot of blemishes. There were actually a lot of blemishes on the light, and I'll actually show you if there are any. It's kind of hard to see now, and it's kind of dirty. I put my fingers on it. There are blemishes like that, which I can't get rid of, but there were like tiny little bubbles, I think, in the aluminum, and things sticking out. Like, there's actually one right there that I didn't even sand, but when I painted it, I didn't like that look, and I went ahead and just sanded it down again. Because when I first sanded it, I didn't sand it good enough. I went ahead and the second time and sanded it down with a disc sander, which actually did an amazing job at making it smooth, and it is just excellent now. So I'm a lot more happier with the second paint job that I did. And actually, if you look at this one, because I did paint this, because I originally wanted to keep this, but this door. But if you look at this paint job, I mean, you can just kind of see, like, I didn't actually let it dry, so it got scratched off right there. I was trying to paint the crack evenly, and you can see the paint just really bubbled up, and I just didn't do a good job. Although that's going to be thrown out, so I'm going to keep the screw and that, but that's going to go. But you can tell I just really did a shitty job painting. But other than that, I repainted it, and it just looks excellent now. It looks brand new. This light is technically, I would consider this light a refurbished light, just because the ballast and stuff has been replaced. The photocell looks new. There's just a lot of new parts in this light. And the nice thing about this power unit, they were making these, I believe, actually in the 80s to maybe the mid to like, they continued to make these into, I think, about the late 80s or possibly the 90s. Right before they switched to the M400A2, which I actually, you already had seen that it was that brown light. So the nice thing about the ballast in here, it's a late 1980s ballast, and I like a lot of the electrical products from the late 80s into the 90s, because that's when we made things really well. You know, we took a lot of time in making things good, you know. As where, like, nowadays, we half-ass everything, we make everything very cheap nowadays, and I trust that this ballast will last a long time, and it definitely is, because I'm not going to really be turning this light on regularly. It's just going to be down here for display, and for, I guess, tiny practical use, whatever. But if you were to install this into one of these fixtures, this could probably last you about 100 years. A lot of these lights do still exist, these General Electric M400 A2s. There are some places that have the 1960s versions. We actually have them here in Mount Healthy, here in town. There's not very many of them, but there are a lot of these lights. Have been a few this year have already gone out, but there's still a lot of these lights, and most of them are mercury vapor, just so you know. We don't have a lot of high pressure sodium here in Mount Healthy, but a lot of these lights are still around. So I bet if you put that ballast in it, it's going to make it last so much longer than its original ballast, you know, is. But or would. Anyway, so I've talked a lot about my light, so I think now what I'll do is I'll show you the light, the insides, what was done. And yeah, then I'll go ahead after that and hook it up. So let's get to it. So the first thing I have to do, for one thing, get my toolbox here. You can see I got some insulators. If you guys have seen my insulator collection videos, you probably remember some of those. So there's only one screwdriver I really need to open it, and it's this one right here. I do electrical work on the side right now for people, so this is my electrical toolbox. I'm going to set the camera down, and I'm going to try to get it on its side so I can open it. One thing you always want to do, is take your photocell off, because when you flip it over you don't want to dent the plug or break something. So, one quick thing too, so that power unit, even though it had a crack on it, the old power unit was actually finished a lot better than this one. When I got this one, the paint, and actually there's still a mark right there, but the paint was just really bubbly on it, and I wasn't very happy with the quality in which it was done. I definitely have a good feeling, and I definitely trust the ballast in here that it'll work very well, but I was not happy with all the rough. It was very roughly finished, and I had to actually sand this, and I was hoping I wouldn't have to, but I did. But that's okay. it needed to be painted anyway to match this. I didn't paint the inside of this, but and of course before I had painted this, I disassembled all the ballast and stuff off of it. But I didn't paint the inside just because it wasn't necessary. You know, it was already new. But the inside of this light definitely had to be painted. Sorry, because it was just burnt. So let me do that. Alright. So to open up this light to get into the ballast, it's very simple. Now, I kind of wish I had my stand, but now the camera has to be down low. You need a screwdriver. You can either use a flathead, or I have this hex bit on the screw, a hex bit screw to open it, which are a lot nicer when you are opening these types of lights. It's not really gonna stay. It's not gonna open up the way I want it to. So to open that, you unscrew that, pull this forward, and it pops right open. So it's not gonna open as well as I want it to. I'm gonna put it on the side like that. I'll bring the camera over. So as you can see here, I have a new ballast. The new ballast, there's a whole new ballast in this unit, new capacitor and igniter here. I had to do a little bit of fiddling around. So one thing that didn't survive, another thing that didn't survive in this light was the terminal. The terminal was totally destroyed. So now I do have the original wires to the terminal, so like if I pull this out, I do have that. So that connects into that socket on there. But the wires did at least kind of survive. I did keep them, but the old terminal it just fell apart. It was made of like a fiber. The plastic was made of like a fiberglass material, and it just broke into powder, which was really bad. The inside, when the ballast burned, all this nice gray you see was not like this. I had to sand it a little bit and then paint it. It was just so black in here. And you could almost see, I was almost to the point where you could smell it. When I actually washed it off, it actually got rid of some of the smell. But it was pretty bad. And I decided, when I first painted it on the outside and I wasn't satisfied, I hadn't actually painted the inside, but when I went ahead and I ordered this, I decided I would just do a whole overhaul when it came to the paint. And I repainted the entire inside. But a little quick info, so your power obviously comes in through your straight light post into the light. You got your ground here you can hook up to. This ground isn't really bonded to anything right now except for the light. And when I painted it, I definitely made sure that there was exposed metal because the paint will block conductivity. Yeah, so these wires, like I said, are reused from the old terminal, but the terminal is new. If you're wondering where I got the terminal from, there was actually a street light down on the Kentucky side of Cincinnati that someone hit and the old luminaire was broken, and I actually salvaged parts out of that, and this was a piece that came out of it. So I actually got this from a broken, busted up luminaire, and I decided, since I was going to fix this light, that I'd put it in here. But back to the light. So you got your terminal here. Your hot is on the top, your ground is in the middle, your neutral is on the bottom. The hot comes out of the terminal right here, and it goes, if you guys can see, it probably not very well, but the photocell's right here. It goes up to the photocell. There's a neutral that does come out of the photocell here and ties into our neutrals. The red wire comes out of the photocell when the power's kicked on, and you can see the neutrals are tied together. It comes over to this wire, which is still the hot line. Now, when I bought this power unit, it had a socket that came with it, a more modern socket, but since I was going to be reattaching everything, I went ahead and cut it off, and I spliced the wires. So this is what this is. And I made sure everything was color-coded, so I got this 12-gauge stranded wire. And this is just some spare wire I had back from school that I kept, but brand new and it works. Anyway, your power goes here, and the hot then comes down here into this socket, which goes over into your igniter and then comes out up into the ballast. So I'm not 100% sure right now how all this works, but this hot wire that comes in here finally powers all this up. And then coming out of the igniter, we got our blue and white. Your blue is your hot, your white is your neutral. That go, and the socket is all the way in the front, but these two wires, which I had to run new wires for the socket, right here, go to the light. And I will open up the light. And sorry if I seem really zoomed in. It is just this light is big. So to open it, you undo this right here, and then your light opens up. As you can see, this has been repainted. I don't know if you can see the ground that's lighter than this, so you can definitely tell I repainted the inside. You got your wires. They come in here to the back, and that tape's coming off, which is frustrating. I use cheap electrical tape into the socket here. Now the socket was also salvaged out of the old light. Now the socket that was in this light was not burnt or broken, but I just decided to put in a new socket, and I went ahead and made some new crimps right here, these red things, to connect to this socket. And yeah, and it works really well. The nice thing too is, depending on what type of bulb you have, you can also adjust your socket. The bulb I have is not very tall, it's only like this tall. So it really doesn't take up the whole fixture, but I just put it there because there's long versions and short versions. Anyway, so your bulb, your power then goes in here, and like concluding, your light lights up. So now I've showed you my light, I think I'll go ahead and start it up. Sorry if I sound like I'm nervous. I'm not nervous. I haven't done a video in a long time. It's been a while since I've done really a good video, and my insulator collection video was quite a while ago now, if you really think about it. But yeah. While I got it down, as you can see, here's the sticker. So real quick, when I repainted this, I actually was able to take this sticker off, and I just peeled it off, although it's kind of coming up now. But that's okay, it's not that bad. For this, I'll be using just an extension cord, and I don't know why this is like this, so I gotta put a plug on that. But once I get done with that, I will put it over there, under, right next to my insulator shelf with my lights. This shelf is still amazing. There's a bulb out on it though, darn it. And I will get it started. And before I do show you the light turning on, here's the bulb I got. I have the box on the floor right there. This is a Philips bulb. This is a 150 watt. So this bulb will definitely be able to handle this light. It won't overmax. It's not too little and it's not too much. So this bulb right here is going to go in there. Alright, so the light is now set up, the light bulb has been installed, and I'm going to go ahead and shut the lights off. As you can see, I got my light shelf on behind me, or behind the light. The light shelf is doing a pretty nice job at putting some dim light on the light, making it look quite acoustic. But what I'm going to do now is plug in the light. The photocell is not plugged in. The photocell I'm going to plug in, start it, so make sure the camera, okay. Alright, in 3, wait a minute, sorry. In 3, 2, 1. There we go, it's starting up. Most high pressure sodium bulbs, when they first start up, usually start up at a dim white, and then when they get brighter, they turn orange. When I put this bulb in earlier, it actually turned on. It went to orange really fast. This one's doing it too. So earlier I was turning it on and off a lot, and and the ballast wasn't really humming, but now it's humming, and I think I might have strained it, but hopefully that's not what happened. but it is working. As you can see, it's beautiful orange now, but it's not at its full brightness yet. It's already starting though to take over the background lights on my insulator shelf, which are definitely not as bright as this light. This light is intense bright. Since this is a 200 watt light, and there's a 150 watt bulb in, it's actually using 150 watts. So I'm using about 50 watts less than what the light is made for. It is getting pretty bright. It is not at its full brightness yet. One thing it is going to do though, which hopefully isn't going to be too much of a problem, is it's going to overexpose on the camera. Actually, it's already doing it now. Unfortunately, cameras are not as good as our eyes. Like, I'm looking at the light from the side right now, and I can see both the light coming out of the refractor and the actual light fixture without it blackening out. But the camera just does not appear to want to. Let me see if I can get it to focus on a different point. Unfortunately, I can't. There's just too much light coming out of that now. Turn it off real quick. Just listen to the light. I think it's humming though. Ballasts do tend to hum. I think just in general. So it was definitely silent when I turned it on. It is very, very bright now. It is giving off a lot of light. It's really lighting up the basement. If I face it to the side here, you can see it's definitely not as good as it is in real light, but it is lighting it up, and it is still, this light is still getting brighter. There's another one. So over at the park, there is 4 lights. There's 2 entrances. Well, one entrance was torn up, and it's just a sidewalk now. But there were 4 lights, so I think there was actually 4 of these. There were the 2 lights that were on the sidewalk that were not working. There was this light right here, which I'm showing you now, and it's been fixed. There was another light, which was a newer one, but I don't know what went on with that one, or what it had going on inside, but I did see water, and a lot of really yucky water sitting in the refractor, and that just kind of indicated to me that it probably had a water leak, and it just, burned up and shorted out. There are 2 others that were, there is one that had been working before I made the report. So the two that have been replaced, they're also high pressure sodium, and they're, if you guys aren't familiar with streetlight names, you probably won't know, but the 2 that are currently up are Cooper OVXs, and they're made to be wired for mercury vapor, I think, and high pressure sodium, like this light. Just so you know now, it is at its full brightness, I believe. I don't think it can get any brighter than that. It is on the floor, so it doesn't really seem like crazy bright to me, but I bet if I turn it to its side, it's just really going to shine. And then there is another set of 2, which I was talking about. There is currently another Cooper OVX, which is an older one. I think it's from like 2008 or something. And it has the wrong refractor lens on it, but it's okay. That one still works. And then there was another one that wasn't working, and it was also a General Electric M400A2, exactly like this one, 400 watts. And that one wasn't working. And then it had another General Electric light. It was like a parking lot light connected to the power line, and they both weren't working, and they had been working for a couple of years. But he actually, the guy who came out, fixed them, and they work now. So, and the General Electric M400 is just so bright. I think I'm gonna get over here and look. This one is definitely not as bright as the other 400. The 400 is 400 watts, which is probably why it definitely puts off more lumens than the one I have, but this one does a really good job. that lighting in the basement, at least one side of it. And then the other Cooper, the Cooper OVX that I was just talking about, the older one, that one's not very bright, but it is also a 400 watt, but I believe the bulb is kind of just starting to go out. Or it's, you know, it's losing its life. It's just starting to. So with high pressure sodium, when high pressure sodium starts to go out, when the bulbs weaken, what happens is the lumens they put out get less and less and less, kind of like mercury vapor, and then they get to a point where the light can't start properly. So it'll just cycle, as I'm sure you all are very familiar with. It just cycles, and then to the point where the cycles get less and less and less, and it just doesn't work anymore. So that one I think is starting to burn out. But those are the 4 lights that are over there, and on our street we have 1960s M250s, and they work really well. They're mercury vapor, but the ones over at the park are these high pressure sodium ones. I was definitely very happy to get this light. I think it's a great light. I was definitely planning on starting a collection after I'd gotten my other 400, which you guys have seen. I will do a video on sometime. But this light right here, so there's a few lights I want to get. I wanted an M400A2, which is the one I have now. I wanted the Thomas & Belts version, 125 I believe it is. Thomas & Betts, not Belts. Thomas & Betts. I would like to also get a Cooper OVD, a Cooper OVG, which are a lot harder to find. I think they're pretty rare unless you go to New York City, which I went and I saw plenty of them still around, even though they're switching. And then I want an M400 1960s version of this light, and then the M1000, which are also sort of rare. They're not as rare as the OVG, but they are pretty rare. I know where there's a few of them here in Ohio. But yeah, anyway, so this is the 400. The one thing I'll do before I quit is test our photocell. So the photocell is very simple. You know, when the sun comes up, I'm going to shine my phone on it. Actually, let me make sure the camera sees. So I'm going to shine my phone. Here's my phone. As you can see, it went off. As you can see, it went off when light hits it. So the photocell is very simple. It's like so technically your photocell acts as your outdoor motion sensor, and when light hits it, it goes off. As you can see, I have painted it with a very nice glossy black, and this is a bit foggy. I can't really clean that, but this photocell, I'm glad, did not burn up with the light. So, and that's the light bulb. It's making that wobbly noise. But anyway, so that was my General Electric M400A2. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm definitely not enjoying the air conditioning coming on, but that's okay. This video is about to end soon. If you guys would like to see me do more videos like this, you can put a comment in the comments section below. Please like and subscribe if you guys want to see more content. So yeah, y'all have a great day, and I will see you soon. Bye.